Okay, welcome to another developer diary for Dungeon Runner. So I thought what we would talk about today would be the different tile pieces used to make the dungeon, how we went about making those, and the kind of different settings and stuff that's useful in Maya. So you can see these are our different tile pieces which are used. You can see you can nicely snap to the grid, and you can see there's various different types. So what we have here is our dead end piece. See here we've got 4 pillars, 3 pillars, 1 pillar, and so on. Now these are all the kind of different pieces that you will need to make a complete procedural generated dungeon. So now the reason why you need to have these pillars is so that all the pieces can stick together properly. For instance, if I just chuck this main piece here and we'll duplicate that, move that along, just move both those there, and we take our corner piece here and move that up to there, you'll see we need that pillar in there in order to connect the wall up to here. If we just clone this again and rotate this 90 degrees, you can see the same thing there. So now it fits. If we didn't have that pillar there, then it wouldn't work. We do actually have a corner piece here that doesn't have a pillar. That is useful in some situations, and you can see now why that wouldn't work, because there's nothing here to block up this wall. So let's just use the dead end piece here. So you can see there's no model here to block off this hole. So that's why you need to have pillars in place. So what about this tile here? Well, if we just stick that there and clone this, you can see where this would be used. So in an instance where you have 4 corridor pieces joining together. Like so. And again you can see that without the pillars this wouldn't work. So why do we have this one here then, which doesn't have a pillar on it? Well, there are instances where this would be useful. For instance, if we just use our empty floor piece here, which might go there, and find our individual wall piece, which is here, you'll see pretty quickly where this might be useful. And there you go. So if you had a complete room there, that's where you would have an instance of where you would need a corner without a pillar. Okay, another really important aspect, as you see me keep doing, is I keep snapping this to the actual grid. Now this is exactly the way the game actually works in Unity. So if we just pause this, and hopefully we'll be able to see this in a sec. Basically it places every tile based on a square space in your grid. So this grid here is exactly as it is represented in Unity. So maybe I just need to let the camera finish playing. We'll pause this and see if we can get this to work. Oh well, doesn't seem to be working. So as long as I've got my grid matched up to how the Unity one works, I know that Unity is going to create them in exactly the same way as I'm doing here. Just to show you the grid settings, obviously we've put this to a massive length, so if you zoom out the grid is absolutely huge, and also in the grid we've made sure we've got 800 units, which is equivalent to actually 8 units in Unity, but that's how wide each of our spaces is. If we just set this up to say 1000, hit apply, you'll see that no longer lines up. It's also useful to set your subdivisions and your subdivision lines. So you need at least one. Let's apply there. See, this is no longer going to work because I've got the the grid, the pivot in the center of each of my grid pieces, so I do need to have that extra subdivision. And obviously it's useful to change the colours, which can be a bit of a pain actually, because you see there you can't seem to actually pick the colour yourself, so you just have to cycle through these colours that Maya gives you until you find a like a solution that you're happy with. And this is kind of depending on, like if I just go into Maya there, you see you get the orange from the selection and you get the blue from the selection, so you kind of want to avoid, and the green there, so you kind of want to avoid those colours in your grid. So this doesn't seem to be working at all. I've never actually seen that happen before. That normally just works, so I'm genuinely surprised. I wonder if it's something to do with the actual recording itself. So you can see this is in more of an advanced stage. All I really want to show you is the map, but I don't think it's going to let me do that. So we'll have to leave that for now. So yeah, that's the kind of default tile pieces. This obviously is really useful because it allowed us to test the actual gameplay for the tiles. So would this be wide enough? If I just chuck in, say, a box here, say move this into here, if my character is, say, this big, would this actually work in relation to the character size? And what we found was this actually wasn't wide enough for the character, because they're going to have to be dodging enemies quite a lot. So we really wanted to give enough room for you to be able to, say, dodge past 4 enemies stood in a line, so we wanted at least a width of 5 characters. So we actually increased the size quite a lot. The final piece size was actually 1400, so like nearly double the size actually of each tile piece. So if I just say select our, might as well just use the dead end here, you can see it's quite a lot bigger. So maybe 1.6 or around there in terms of scaling up. So yeah, I think that's about right. So you can see, like, it's a significant kind of increase in size we went for in the end. So if we had modelled any of this stuff in before we did this phase, it would have been a total nightmare. This kind of planning and testing in your white box phase is really important. So yeah, that's about all I've got to discuss with that. I'll check one more time if I can get this to work, but I'm pretty certain, having tried it many times, it's not actually going to. So I will cover this in a later video.